Hey Spark, I hope you all are well. We are going to close out our series for May. It's called Community Conversations. This is part 4 of that series. And we're going to talk today about the Bible. Of all books to talk about in church, we're talking about the Bible. Now, if you grew up like me, you know that the Bible is a book with a lot of stories. I mean, a lot of stories. And those stories are most times super serious. Like, just look at the catalog of stories in the Bible real quick with me. There are stories about people who hear God talk in burning bushes. There's stories about people who leave one land as slaves and go and take land that's flowing with milk and honey. There are stories about people who become king, stories about people who kill giants with rocks and slingshots, stories about people who are thrown in a fiery furnace, stories about people who do horrific things to women, stories about people who don't get what they were actually promised, stories about people who are healed by having mud put on their eyes, stories about people who are stoned to death with rocks, stories about people who are cut off from community, and even stories about people who are crucified. The Bible is filled with stories, and most of those stories are super serious. But if we're honest, life is not always super serious. Like, where are the stories of people laughing and joking in the Bible? Like, did you ever wonder why there isn't a story of the practical joker in the children of Israel? Like, did you ever wonder why there aren't stories of Peter, James, and John just cutting up in their free time? Or stories of where they had to tell Jesus to, hey man, calm down for a second and chill out? Like, why aren't there those stories in the Bible of showing sides of life that aren't super serious, of where we are laughing, joking, drawing, coloring, relaxing, just being? Why aren't there those stories in the Bible? Well, one reason is because the Bible was written over several centuries for particular people for particular reasons. And unfortunately, those reasons most times did not include stories about laughing and joking and just being. And I say unfortunately because if you grew up like me, you were told that you had to live your life based on the Bible. So we did things based on the Bible, or we based on how we lived based on the Bible. So we were good to our neighbors because the Bible told us to. We listened to how God might call us because the Bible told us to do that. We spread the good news because the Bible told us to do that. We gave to the church and gave to organizations because the Bible told us to do that. We did things based on the Bible because that was supposed to be our instruction book. But if the Bible is our instruction book, how do we deal with all of us? Not just the super serious parts of us. And this brings me to today's principle. To build a strong community, this part 4 of our series is discover who you are and be that person unapologetically. Discover who you are and be that person unapologetically. I remember when I first started teaching 4 years ago, my faculty mentor said, don't let your students see you smile until December. He said, don't let them see you smile until December because they will take advantage of you. So I came in my classroom super serious. Line up along the wall, stand up straight, raise your hand to speak. It was a super serious classroom. And so for 3 years, the students came in, I taught, work got done, and they left. And after a few years, I realized we aren't bringing our whole selves to this classroom. I got tired of being this stuck up, mean, firm person. I wanted to bring my full self in the classroom. And as you all know, I can be super serious, but also super goofy. And I can be a workaholic, but I can also be a jokester. And it took me 3 years of teaching to realize I needed to bring my full self into the teaching moment. So I loosened up. And here's what happened. When I loosened up, it gave my students permission to loosen up. And we were able to bring our full selves into the classroom. We were able to say, hey, I don't have to just be serious all the time. I can tap into those parts of myself that are lighthearted and fun. And you know what happened? Students began to do their work and color and draw in the free time. Students began to discuss the ancient Egyptians and listen to their music and chill. Students began to do their work and talk about the Romans and the Greeks, Mesopotamians, and the Assyrians, but they also were able to crack a joke every now and then. And even I laughed at their corny jokes. We were able to bring our full selves because we were able to discover those parts of ourselves we were told to deny. And we all learned from each other. You know, life comes at you fast. And you know, I am 32 now, and life has a way of in your 20s and 30s of sucking all the playfulness, all the joy and lightheartedness out of you until you're stuck just going through the motions. You go to work, you come home, and you do it all over again until you die. But we aren't made to live like that, Spark. God has put so much more inside of us than just to go through the motions of work and coming home and dinner and routines. God says, I did not create you to just go through the motions like that. The Gospel of John tells us in John 10:10 that the thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. But the Lord comes that we might have life and have it more abundantly. You know what the word abundantly means? It means overflowing. It means living life in the fullest. And I have a secret for you. You can't live life in the fullest if you aren't being your full self. You can't live life in the fullest if you are denying parts of who you are. You can't live life in the fullest if you are scared to be who God has created you to be. So while we are stuck at home, I want you to ask yourself these questions. Who am I in totality? What parts of me am I scared to show? What talents do I love that no one knows about? What parts of me have people told me I'll grow out of, but I really do enjoy? How can I be my best self? And how might my family and church benefit if I am my full self? Think about those questions, Spark, because God has created you to discover who you are in totality. Because life is short, and God has not created you to live this short life being only a fraction who you've called to be. You deserve to be your full self. Be blessed, Spark. See you soon.